Laura Whitmore, welcome
How
to
are
the
you?
line.
Tammy, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. It's been such a busy year for you, and so many amazing things happened. And we're so excited to have you with us because you just are about to bring out a new book. And I saw on Instagram that you have it in your hands. Let's see.
Sorry for the scream. I'm still on the screaming element. Because I know you have a book coming out the same month, but you haven't got you haven't got your hands on yours yet. It's
No.
it's, it's how it's how it. Someone was like, "What does it smell like?" I was like, "It smells like a newborn baby's head." Lovely.
And it is the most beautiful book I've ever seen. I mean, did you say you wanted gold or was gold given to you?
I don't know what your process was like, but I think writing the book was probably easier than everything else that comes with the book. There was like a lot of chat about what the front cover was, and I think when you make something, when it's your writing and it's your words and it's your baby, obviously lots of people and publishers are brilliant and they're very smart and they've lots of experience. But I was adamant that I knew what I wanted for the book. So it was a lot of back and forth, but we got there in the end, and I'm delighted with it. I'm absolutely delighted with it. Um, and the gold, it's one of these things, for anyone who sees the book in real life, you know, when you see a picture of it and then you're like, in real life, what will it look like? Will it look like a roll of tin foil? But no, I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
Well, Laura, we can have another chat in about 2 weeks when I get mine, and we
Yes.
we can review.
It's overwhelming though, because you kind of and I said this to you before we started recording. Like I got it and I couldn't open it at first. I just left it. I left it on the chair. I was like, I'll open you later. I can't do it now.
But I think what's really important to note as well is that it's very personal to you. And mine was the same. Like I wanted to write, I literally wrote the book that I needed when I was 14.
That's what I said. I wrote but a book that I wanted to read.
Yeah, and wrote everything that I've learned, and to be honest, most of us have to learn ourselves all of these lessons.
Yeah.
But so tell us, why did you want to write this book? You've got loads going on. It's not like you've got no like loads of free time on your hands. So why?
Yeah, well, kind of similar to what you said. Like, people always ask me when it comes to television and radio, like, what type of show would you like to work on? What type of show do you want to host? And I always said, I want to work on a show that I would watch on television, that I care about. And the same when it came to a book. And I was approached a few years ago about writing a book. I've always loved writing. I've kind of come from a journalistic background. I'm not really used to writing about myself. I find it easier to write about other people or ask other people questions. But I'd started to write a few more articles. I was feeling a little bit more comfortable in myself when it came to my writing. Because I've written, I don't know about you, I've written a lot in the past that nobody has seen and nobody will ever see. Because for me, that's quite therapeutic. But I did in the end write the book that I felt I needed. But when I was first approached, um, I think other people had probably notions of what I should write. Is it going to be like an autobiography? Am I going to like talk about like some wild stories from MTV days and things like that? And then there was a few other kind of conversations, and that wasn't the book that I wanted to read. That wasn't the book that I needed to write. So it took a while to get to where we are. And I'd started writing bits and pieces, and nothing like a lockdown and a pandemic to make you reflect on life and look at all the stuff that you've started and not finished. And I ended up like signing this deal to write this book that I wanted to write with a brilliant publishing group and a great editor, Pippa, literally just as lockdown was happening. And sure, I had no excuse not to be finishing the book at that stage.
I spoke to my publisher 2 days before lockdown when I heard
Yeah.
lockdown was coming, and I said, "Sure, I'll have loads of time now," and completely underestimated the effect that lockdown was going to have on my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a way, it was good over the summer to be able to sit down and tell your story. And the reason why I think your story should be shared is because I think that a lot of us look at people like yourself that we would consider to be very successful and talented and assume that you're just really lucky, or you got some good people behind you, or that life has been easy and everything has just worked out perfectly for you to have gotten to where you are today. Would that be the case, Laura? Because I doubt it.
I think nothing in life worthwhile comes easy, and we all learned that, and we all have our struggles. We've all we've all got different levels of struggles, and I recognize some of us are more privileged than others. And for me, I find life overwhelming sometimes, like a lot of us do. And I think not just for what I do in my career, but for a lot of people, we spend a lot of our life waiting for other people's decisions. We're waiting for like, did we get a job? Or does the teacher think I'm good enough? Will I get cast in, you know, for an audition that I've gone for? Will that boy like me? And you're always like waiting for other people to take control of your life and to make your decisions. And that could be in all walks of life. And that'll happen throughout your whole life, from when you're at school right up to like when you're like very, very old. But for me, I kind of wanted to break all that and break it back. And over the last few years, I've just realized, you know, we can put the blame on other people, going, you know, like what, you have a fight with a school friend and be like, okay, well, she was really mean. She said this horrible thing about me behind my back. But you can't control how other people see you. You can't control what they say about you. But what you can control is how you react. And I learned that, because sometimes I can be quite reactive and I can be and just go all in there, guns blazing. But sometimes I'm like, that's not actually going to be beneficial. Sometimes it is, but it's not going to be beneficial depending on what my outcome is, or what my hoped outcome is going to be. So I just realized lots of things that happened throughout my whole life, a lot of it comes back to me. And there's something, Tammy, that's really empowering when you realize how much control you have over your life. Because it mightn't feel that way. It might feel like your parents control your life. But like, even things like, okay, I can't leave my house and go over to my friend's house and like have drinks in my friend's house and have a night out. I can't do that. But what I can do is, in my house now, is make my house a little bit nicer, is, you know, do something nice for my other half, or walk the dog, or cook myself a nice meal, or make someone a cup of tea in the house. And it's like, what are those little things that I can do just to make life that little bit easier? So kind of use this in the wider scheme of things to be like, in life in general, when it comes to career, when it comes to big relationships, what can I do? How can I control, and not even control, but how can I change my perspective a little bit, just to make life a little bit better for other people, but also out of selfishness for myself.
You just summed up everything we do here at the Shona Project in about 2 lines. So
that's why I'm talking to you.
If you're ever looking for a job, Laura, you know, get in touch if you're ever at a loose end, and we'll see what we
might take you up on that.
What was Laura Whitmore like as a teenager?
Oh, good question. You probably better off asking someone else. Like, shy. That I always think it's really funny. I remember when I got the MTV job, and MTV was considered like quite a cool station. I remember people I went to school with going, "How the hell did you end up as the MTV girl?" Because I was a nerd at school. Like, I was such a nerd. I was like debating team, French, Irish, and English, even though I couldn't speak most of those languages. I love drama. I was, you know, I grew up with just my mom. I was quite quiet initially. And then I remember my mom telling me that one of the teachers said I wasn't really talking in class. I was very quiet. This was in primary school. So maybe she should send me to drama classes just to come out of my shell a little bit. And I went to a drama teacher in Bray called Iris Keogh. And then my mom says, she's like, I don't know what I created, but you came home with this new attitude and a hand on your hip. But I do remember, like, finding your people is really important. When I started university at 17 or 18, and I moved away from home, because a lot of my friends went to like UCD or Trinity, and I really wanted to study journalism, and they didn't do that course in either of those colleges. So I ended up going to DCU, which was Northside, and it was a little bit too far to travel. So I ended up staying on res, and I didn't know anybody, and I found it really hard. I kind of went back to quiet Laura again. I'd never like had classes with boys because I went to a convent. Like, you know, it was just a whole other things you have to worry about besides the actual academic side. And then I remember joining the drama club and finding my people and finding your tribe. And I think it's really important in life to find your tribe, because not everyone is your tribe, and you don't have to be friends with everyone. You can be nice to everyone, but you can kind of have your little group that kind of support you. And I've got that now in life, that there are many things I don't talk about publicly, but by God, I'll have a rant to my friends about it. So I think finding your tribe. So I remember at 17, 18, kind of finding my tribe at university. I had my own tribe back from primary, secondary school, but then obviously you all kind of go and do different things, and it's really difficult. So that was kind of really important. So I think from the outside, people wouldn't have expected me to be the girl on television hosting MTV.
And you sound like you made a career out of proving people wrong, which is what I've certainly done, because I was, you know, the bad kid in school, the one who acted up and never turned up.
Really?
Oh my God. So
Look at you, innocent there. Sweet innocent as pie.
there's no idea, but like ever since then, I've really enjoyed, there's this facial expression that I love, which is, huh, good for her.
I get that a lot. Like, oh, you're not what we expected you to be. You don't fit into the box that we put you in.
Yeah, nothing like proving people wrong. And you spoke about your friends, and I know that your female friendships are super important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all about girls supporting girls in school and how transformative that would be. So what's so special about women supporting other women, both secondary school age, but then in your career and over your whole life?
I think it's really important. I think I found from personal experience, women are put against each other a lot. And that goes from, comparing ourselves to our classmates, to when I started on television, like seeing myself in a magazine wearing the same outfit as like Fern Cotton or Alexa Chung, and then being like, who wore it best? And I'm like, we both wore it really well, actually. I don't know why we're being judged or, put amongst each other. So I think we do have this mentality of where, as women, we almost feel like we have to be competitive, otherwise we'll like fall by the wayside. Well, that doesn't have to be the case. We can actually help each other. And I've got some great women in my life. I'm really good friends with a girl called Samantha Barry, who I met in one of my first jobs on News Talk in Ireland. And we were both like the new girls in there, and it was quite male dominated, and we were quite young in there, and we were probably quite perceived to be a certain type of girl, maybe like kind of being the young girl, like kind of goes and makes an effort in your appearance. And we've been friends for years now. And I love Sam because she's one of those people who just lifts people. Like every now and then I'll get an email from her. She'll CC me in with someone else in the industry that I don't know and be like, you should know each other. I think you'll help each other. And I think I love that, how women connect. And like one of my friends, Britt in LA, I remember like I was almost set up on a friendship date with her because like, you're two like-minded women. Like you guys, if you get together, you could like come up with some great ideas. You could be really good friends, or you could, do something, business-wise. And I think that's really important, that we can connect, and like women talk, like girls talk. I always like talk to my other half. I'm like, you guys need to talk more because you'd achieve so much more if you boys talk to each other more. And I think once we stop kind of competing against each other and start like collaborating, that's when like real change and real exciting things happen.
Yeah, and one Sam is worth 10 mediocre acquaintances.
Yeah. And you get to choose the people in your life. Do you know what I mean? If you have a friend that's not good for you or is knocking you constantly, like talk to them, be like, you say, like, we've all had frenemies, we've all had friends in school that make you not feel very nice, and you're like, why am I friends with them? I don't have to hang around with them. And you'll learn that as you get older, there's a lot of people who have been in your life that may fizzle out for a big reason or for no reason other than you've just drifted apart. And that's okay, because we get to choose who our tribe is. We don't get to choose our family, but we get to choose our tribe.
Yeah. And you've spoken a huge amount in the last year about kindness, being so important. And we've seen how transformative kindness can be for good or for bad when it's lacking. And it should be an obvious thing, but it's not. Like, why is kindness so important to you, and why do you speak out so much about it?
I think, and actually one thing, Tammy, that I've kind of spoken out about more about, because we talk about being kind to other people a lot, and that's really important. But one thing I noticed was we're not being kind to ourselves. And that's like, even in the book, like I always talk about the you, what can you do? And I ended up like, I'd be like, we need to be nicer to each other. And then I'd say the worst things to myself. Like I would do an interview and I'd be like, Laura, that was like rubbish and you could have done that better. Or look at the statey in that top and why would you wear that? And I was like, how can I expect people to be nice to me if I can't even say these nice things to myself, if I can't be kind to myself? And it's hard because I think I don't know, maybe it's an Irish thing, but like it's not in our genetics to kind of be complimentary to ourselves, God forbid, to say like, oh, actually, like someone gives you a compliment, to actually say thank you. Yes, I did do well in that test. You kind of have to go, oh God, I didn't even study for it. And I don't know how that happened. It must have been like a fluke or luck or whatever. So I think, being kind to ourselves. And then if we all do that, then I'm hopefully, there's always going to be people who aren't very nice. And there's always going to be people who say things, and you can't always change them. You can't change someone else. So again, like what I always try to go back to is, what can I do? If someone says something not very nice to me, I can choose to react and get upset, which you're allowed to do, or I can choose to be like, do you know what? Maybe this person has an issue. Maybe it's their insecurity. Maybe they're knocking what I'm wearing because they've got, it could be jealousy. It could be that actually maybe they connect with you and they feel like they're like you in other ways. And that's why they're knocking you. There's so many other ways around it. So sometimes when it's hard, if someone's not very nice, to be kind to them. But I always think there's a reason why someone is unkind. So I try within reason to go rise above it. And if not, walk away from it. You don't have to be around it.
Yeah. And this keeps coming up with us at Shine, choices.
Mm-hmm.
Always have choices, even when you think you don't.
Mm-hmm.
When things happen that are outside of your control or that you didn't expect, you always have a choice as to how we react to that. So I just want to reinforce that, because it's coming up time and time and time again.
Yeah. Even if you can't do something about it, tell someone who can, because there's been situations where I know in work situations, and I'm sure it's probably in school situations, where there is somebody who's causing you tough time and you really feel you can't do anything about it. It's okay to ask for help, because you asking for it is you doing something.
Yeah, it's still a choice that you're making, 100%. Who inspires you, Laura? Who do you look up to?
Oh, there's loads. Actually, the first chapter of the book, I talk a lot. So the book that I wrote is based on a poem that I wrote last year called She. And the first line is, she is strong. So I talk a lot about women in my life, and that could be family members, grandmother, my mom, but also women in music like Alanis Morissette. I talk a lot about song lyrics, because the title of the book is actually a song lyric by a girl group called Wilson Phillips that no one watching this will probably remember, from the 90s. It's like the first cassette I ever had. And then I talk about like women who I don't know. I think I've been lucky enough to meet, but someone like Mary Robinson, who in the 90s was a huge inspiration for me. I remember doing a school project on her, and she was the first female Irish president, and she talked about issues and things long before, like now I feel we're really looking this new generation. I'm really excited about the generation coming after me. But I always think, God, the older generations had it so much harder, because you could say nothing without getting teared down. So for me, women like that inspire me. I was very lucky to have met her about a year or two ago. She came on my radio show, and honestly, she may as well have been like the biggest rock star in the world, because she's a rock star. So yeah, people like that. And I think it's really important to have role models in your life, whether it's someone in your family or whether it's someone you're never going to meet. But it's good to have people to look up to. I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. And we would consider you to be very successful, and I always
feel that. I can't take the compliment, thank you.
There you go. It's the pennies hun generation, aren't we? But we would consider you to be very successful. And one of the things that I'd encourage lots of girls to do is consider what success means for them. Because for me, if you're chasing, say fame or power or money, you'll find it very hard to be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
So what does success mean to you, and what is it like? Are you there yet? I mean, I think you are, but
I don't think we'll ever be like we're not, as humans, programmed to ever be satisfied in the now, are we? We're always like striving for something else. And one thing I've kind of talked about and researched a bit is this whole idea of purpose, like having a purpose. And that's really different to a goal or a plan, because I don't have that much of a plan, Tammy, half the time. But I have a purpose. I kind of know how I want to feel, and I know what I want to achieve. I like challenging myself. So it's like, what can I do to get that purpose? And sometimes you might have a goal, and that could be to host a certain television show, or it could be to get a certain job, or it can be to hang out with a certain group of people, or whatever it might be. But the goal isn't the purpose. The purpose is why you're doing it. What's your why? Why are you doing it? What does it make you feel like as a person? And I think that's really important to keep coming back to that. And that's not money side of things. Maybe it is. Maybe someone just wants to make loads of money. And if that's your purpose, like, own it. But I think purpose is bigger. Purpose is a feeling almost. It's how you want to feel. And I always get asked this question, which I hate, which is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I'm like, I have no idea, because my goals might shift. Like what I want to achieve might shift. But I know, like, what I normally would answer is like, happy. What do you want to be in 10 years? I want to be happy. That's my purpose. To be happy, fulfilled, feel challenged, and be excited, because life is exciting. Life is a privilege. We've made it to 2021. This is a privilege, and enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, love everything you're saying. Laura, my final question for you, and thank you so much for giving so much of your time. And actually, just to say, on your book, I'm old enough to know that song, and I can't see the title without it being sung in my head over again.
It's so catchy. I know. I'm sorry. The amount of people, I put up a picture of the book on my Instagram, and the amount of people are like, I can't stop singing that song now.
And actually, we're going to put a link underneath this or over this. I'm not sure how it'll look at the end. Yeah. A link for your book, but I'm also going to put in a link to that song on YouTube. And
yes,
everybody to learn all.
I should get some royalties from Wilson Phillips. I'm sure they've done fine with it. People will know it from Bridesmaids with Chris O'Dowd. Actually, other people go, it's a song from Bridesmaids.
Okay, perfect. Well, I am going to share. I'm going to make sure it sticks in everyone else's head as well. But my final question to you, and a really, really important one, is that there's lots of young girls watching this, and lots of them are feeling really isolated or stressed or anxious or alone. And they might be struggling to feel hopeful and to find, you know, as you said, your purpose, because it's hard to see right now for a lot of us. If you could look every single one of those girls in the eye, what is it that you want them to know?
Oh, God. This is the thing, though. Like, I'm not an expert. I wish, like, I'm figuring it out, because it's okay to have tough days. Like, even like today is a nice, good day. I'm talking to you guys. I'm getting to talk to lots of people today from like the comfort of my home. And then tomorrow mightn't be a good day. It might be a bad day. So it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to have a tough day. And I think that's really important to recognize, because sometimes, I don't know, maybe you look at like my life where you think, oh, like lucky for her, well for her over in London, she's working, and it's great. It's not always great, and that's okay. So if you're having a tough day, that's all right. And maybe nothing I can say right now makes you feel better, but I'll tell you one thing: you will feel better, because you will always feel better. You never stay in the same mood. It will get better. So my advice is, no matter how you feel right now, it will get better. And going back to the you thing, like, you get to choose what you want to do. Like, you have so much more power than you realize. And I didn't realize that, because I feel a bit overwhelmed and like I'm drowning in it all. And, you know, teachers giving you lots of work to do. The hardest thing, actually, I remember, was like filling out a CAO form. Like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And I can tell you, like, I ended up doing journalism, which kind of fits into what I do a little bit, but like, and I kind of knew roughly, but there was no like MTV presenter there. There was no, you know, radio presenter. There was I knew kind of what I liked doing. So don't get too stressed by things, because life will throw so much challenges at you and so many different things, and you will tackle them, because we're humans, and we're hugely resilient, and we're so much more powerful than we know we are. So I would say, give yourself a break, because it will work out and everything gets better. And I promise you that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm behind you on that, Laura. And like, I would reinforce as well what you just said about the pathway is not straight anymore. There's a million different ways to get to, like, I barely passed my Leaving Cert because of stuff I was going through at the time. And now, you know, I've got a master's. When I was a little girl, all I ever wanted to do was be a writer. And I went so far from the path that I couldn't even see the path. And
everyone has a different journey. You're right.
Yeah. So it mightn't be clear, but just go with it and make sure that every day you learn, and you'll get there eventually.
And like, make your own journey, I was going to say, because I do get asked a lot actually by young people, like, how did you make it into television presenting? And I always feel a bit wary about giving my journey, because my journey is very different. Like, my other half is a stand-up comedian. He studied law. Do you know what I mean? Like, how does that happen? So everyone has a different journey and how they fall into things. So do what's right for you. Excuse me, hiccups. Do what's right for you.
Laura, it's been so lovely to chat to you, and I can't wait to get your book, and as I said, get that earworm firmly stuck in my head. As I said, we'll put a little link underneath, and best of luck for the rest of this year. You've got lots of exciting things going on.
I know. Best of luck to you as well. March is a great month to be publishing a book.
Great book. Great.
We love it.
Thanks, Laura. Take care.
Thank you, Tammy. Bye.